What is up, everyone? It's me again, Gamerlush. Another episode of Final Fantasy, my first 15 with. On this one's gonna be a little different, guys, because we all know that the Arcanist was, well, if you've been watching my videos, the Arcanist has not been released for Phase 3, so we couldn't give it a try. This being one of the new classes, no one's tried it. Of course, the producers, the people making the game have, because of course they have to. They have to make the skills, don't they? I would hope. They just like. I don't think they have a program just like, we'll just call it Arcanist. Okay, hit a button, just make some random skills. That'd be kind of weird. Fucked up as well, too, but anyway. This one's going to be about the Arcanist. They had data mined some of the skills from Phase 2 to Phase 3 era, around the Phase 2, Phase 3 era, but of course they did not give us access to the Arcanist, as you all know. So a lot of these skills are going to be dated, but this basically gives us a idea of what the Arcanist is basically going to be about. At first, it's going to be a dot-specific debuffing type class from what I've been reading so far from it. And me personally, I'm not so big a fan of the dot classes, but I will still give it a try. But I'm here to speculate and make predictions and how this class could turn out to be. But seeing what the other class it can turn out to be a summoner, which is a couple spells that you can see here too. Fortunately, no spells from the scholar, but we do know a little bit about the scholar to, speculate and predict what it'll be all about. Guys, you know what time it is. Raise your glasses. Cheers. All right, let's get this on the way. I'm going to read this off of the list for you guys, and then once I read it off, I'm going to give you my ideas of what it might be about. So this might be a little longer. I gotta read off all the list of spills. So enjoy your time. We hanging out. Take a drink. I will be. All right, level 1 is Ruin. Okay, it deals with magic damage to the target. Basically, their standard spell cast, but it only has a potency of 100. They might change that to 150, seeing how most of the classes like Thaumaturge has 150 cast skill, and at least the Conjurer has a level 130 potency cast. So that probably will be buffed up instead of being a potency of 100, unless the cast time will be like 1 second, so they can quick cast it. But then again, the global cooldown on it would be incredibly atrocious, 1.5 seconds until you hit those later levels with armor that reduce the global cooldown of that spell. So I'm really predicting they'll probably increase the damage of that. Rune, I'm really surprised because they're using like spells that are more familiar to the Final Fantasy universe. I probably would like Demi or Quartz. So that would have been kind of cool to have. But this one is more familiar. Level 2, Bio. If you guys have been ever playing in the old Final Fantasy games, Bio is a horrific poison spell that you could put on characters that did damage, including poison the character at the same time, to whereas poison just poisoned the character. It didn't do like a damage right off the bat when you're hitting them with it. So this one, Bio, deals magic damage, a magical dot to a target with a potency of 10 for 30 seconds. So this ticks for a potency of 10 per second for 30 seconds. That's pretty long. That's a pretty long ass time. Dot, they probably might lower the duration of it and increase the potency of it, because pretty much at that point it's almost like a fire and forget spell, because a lot of mobs would go down around the 30 to 45 seconds. So that's pretty much one you cast at the beginning and forget it. Hey, maybe it might be so you're not worried about the rest of your dots, because this one has multiple dots. This class has multiple dots. Moving on, level 4, that's when you get your first summon, Ruby Carbuncle. Oh, they're talking about Topaz. They're talking about a lot of different forms of Carbuncle. This one's talking about Ruby Carbuncle, but there's also a Diamond Carbuncle. I'll talk about that later. Emerald Carbuncle and Topaz Carbuncle. Carbuncle. Getting crunkle up and what the fuck am I doing? Anyway, Carbuncle is basically your pet. It's a mage type class pet, so it's going to be doing damage, and if it's going to be a mage type, I'm wondering whether you would send it out first or just basically have it hold back with you while you're casting spells while it's casting spells as well. So basically not doubling the damage, but increasing the DPS that you would have while you're attacking a mob or engaging. So, you know, it's increasing DPS nonetheless. You have a pet that can attack. Sounds pretty good, you know. Alright, second, at level 6, you get Miasma, dealing a magical dot damage to the target, potency of 5, so leaving less than the bio, but still staying on it for 30 seconds. But has an additional effect of heavy, so it's basically like Blizzard. So it's an instant cast, it lasts for 30 seconds, it does a dot, it slows them down. On top of that, it halves the amount of healing the target gets. Man, this is a heinous ass dot that you can put on our debuff. You can put it does damage, it slows you down, and plus on top of that, it reduces your healing by half. Ouch, golly, that's a pretty cool ass debuff, and I can see later on this, you know, leveling up with damage with intelligence. That's a pretty fierce dot. You probably get to, and for PvP that means that's almost like almost a must-have for them, unless you have a white mage to dispel it or a nausea cast on you. So and then yeah, I can see the craziness on that spell. So that's definitely one. You granted these guys, these data hacks do these data mines do not say whether these ones are shareable with other classes, but I could speculate with what like these skills would go really well with a Thaumaturge, but I'm seeing Miasma probably not shareable, because having that skill, just every class having that, well, it'd be cool if every class could have that skill to begin with, but I figured they wouldn't make it shareable, you know, kind of make it the Arcanist's signature spell or what have you. Also, the guys, these don't have cast time or anything like that as well. These are pretty crude, so I'm basically reading off what the generalization of what these skills will do. So moving on, okay, level 10, you get Sustain, consumes 15% of your health, your maximum health. So basically, if you have 100 health, it'll take 15 HP, and it will put a hot on your pet, so your carbuncle. And so I'm basically assuming that this takes away HP instead of MP, because it basically puts it hot with a duration of 15 seconds, has a potency of 5 per tick. That's pretty low. Like I said, guys, they might be buffing these up, changing them around, so we're not 100% sure. These are just speculations of what the class. This is like a general idea of what the class might be. All right, but you cannot use if your HP is at 50% or lower. So basically, you can't kill yourself with this spell, because that would be dumb. Because once you're gone, the pet is gone. So basically, defeating the whole purpose of doing sustain. Still not seeing any healing spells that I thought are hot spells, but you know, it might change with the scholar, because we'll be talking about that later. All right. 4 more levels, you're at level 14. You get Wither. Deals damage in a cone shape in front of the caster in a 120-degree angle. So basically, like this. Kind of like Overpower for the Marauder, but does not cost immunity. Well, area attacks don't cast immunity, but for the Marauder, because it costs more immunity than your average spell, what have you. But doesn't say how much, doesn't say the potency. It's just pretty much, I guess this is just a spell. If someone gets close to you, you can do a little bit of damage and then run back. Hopefully they'll put something else on it, maybe like a slow or a bind or something, like kind of like a spell that the mob is getting in my face. I can shoot out a cone of Wither, and maybe they'll put a bind on it, or maybe they'll just put a dot on top of it, or something you kind of have to think about. If you to run straight towards the Arcanist, that you have to worry about this Wither, you just blow out maybe a mouthful of locusts out of your mouth. Wither just sounds like pretty heinous when you think about it, or you just, I don't know, blow some bacteria. Just give him like a real bad breath. Speaking of which, cheers, guys. All right. Moving on. Okay, so of course, like I said, with every 15 levels, like I usually stop at this point, you get your skill quest, basically giving you your unique spell for that class and giving you some background story to the class. This one lets you summon Diamond Carbuncle, which is a tanking pet. So your first pet at level 4 will be a mage pet, but at level 15, 5, 5, 5. Count with me. I'm sorry. You'll get Diamond Carbuncle. Basically, you'll send him out first, and he'll tank for you, which is really cool at this point, because around that time you won't be getting your Chocobo companion at this time unless they change that and move it up at this point. So the Arcanist will have a sweet tank class where they can cast all these crazy dots and what have you. So, you know, unlike the Archer, like I was complaining about before, he's like, oh god, we gotta worry about goddamn pet shit like that. But you know, like guys, I said, with caster classes having the root themselves to cast a spell, it's really nice for them to have a pet to tank for them. Unlike with the Archer, all the skills are instant casts, but just has a global cooldown. Trade-off, you know, stuff like that. I love pets in a certain way how they did it. I loved my summoner in Final Fantasy XI. I just loved sitting right outside of Juno because you couldn't summon your little pet or your summon ability or primal inside the town. So people would just go right outside of Juno and just sit there and just summon different pets, and people would run out and like, dude, there's a summoner summoning all these crazy pets. This when summoner like was first like getting really popular and people were starting to get those burning circle notorious monster circles and getting those pets out, and it's like, ooh, what can he summon? It's like, here's a Free. Oh, a Free looks badass. Oh shit. Ooh, can you do Titan? Oh, okay. Yeah, he summoned Titan. It's like, oh, that was fucking awesome. Ooh, do Rama next. Okay, yeah. Oh shit, that's sick. And you know, it was I know it sounds stupid, but back then it was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And you know, these were like prestige things that you would pick up before like achievement and titles and what have you. Like, you knew that guy was badass because he did these fights and attained those primals beforehand. Okay, I got off a track there. Let's go back. All right, level 18, 3 more levels after 15, getting Diamond Carbuncle, you get self-sacrifice. Out of your own HP, your own health pool, you consume 20% of your max HP. So like I said, going back, let's say you have 100 HP, you'll take out 20 HP. I lost my place there. Master Mage to raise. Okay, this is like there was a spell for this, kind of like a blood sacrifice, blood oath, in another game that I remember. You basically sacrifice your life to increase the damage of your spells for a certain amount of time. If this is shared with like other casters, this is a must-have. Because if tank is good and you're not in a situational fight to where there's AoE damage, you can go ahead and sacrifice that life, increasing your damage by 20%. That's like in your own. This is your own magical damage, so it specifically says magical damage, so you cannot share this with like Disciplines of War. Unlike was Furious Strikes, or was it Furious Strikes? I'm sorry, the one that you got with the Archer basically increases your all damage by 20%. They might change this to match that with the Archer, so it's not like, oh, that's fucked up. They get their own thing, but the Archer can share theirs with everyone. They might change that, guys. Who knows? Okay, first set. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Raising your. It doesn't. You sacrifice 20% of your life to raise your magic damage. It doesn't say how much you raise your magic damage, but I'm thinking probably around that much is the same as Furious Strikes. I know, guys, I might be fucking up the name of it. I just can't remember it, thinking right out the top of my head. This duration is 12 seconds. That's a pretty good. You can probably get around 4 to 5 spells off at that time. And of course, you can't use it if your level, your HP is below 20. You can't kill yourself with this. So people can't go into town and kill themselves and spell their dead bodies out in some weird little letters like gold farmers used to do in World of Warcraft, where they'd spell their site out in dead bodies. Kind of morbid way of advertising, but I guess whatever works. Alright. Moving on. Okay, Miasma 2, basically self-explanatory, does the same thing, just increases. It's just increased damage, Miasma 2. So I'm thinking this is a exclusive spell for the Arcanist. They get that at level 22. So, okay, moving on to level 26. It's Fog. Decreases the target's range of throwing, archery, and magic of 20 yards, duration 30 seconds. So this is another debuff cast on a person that has ranged attacks. So if you have the Guardian pulls and doesn't notice that there's casters in the back bombing on your healer, that happened a lot when I was healing for a lot of other dungeons. It's just the Guardian didn't notice, but I was getting bombed by thunder spells and lightning or fire spells. If an Arcanist is in the party, he can debuff those guys and make them come towards it, and then maybe the Guardian will try to notice while he sees these two other guys running past him to try to get closer to the Conjurer or the Healer because of course they're casting and their range attacks are shortened. So basically lowers like, oh shit, so your spell can cast to 30 yards, but this will reduce it to by 10 yards, so you can only cast to 20. PvP, this is a very good spell too. I can see a lot of these debuffs. Almost a lot of teams will want to pick up an Arcanist. But guys, like I said, everyone's saying, oh, they got different skills and different armors to balance this out. We gotta see. We can speculate all we want, like I'm speculating here with the Arcanist, but until I see it, I'm not gonna be totally put to rest by this, or put at ease. Alright, so okay, moving on, we're going to Barrier. Raise your physical defense by 10%, duration by 15. This is something that can probably stack on top of Shell or Protect, so just increasing your protection way more than even what the Protect by itself could do, because Protect only raises your defense to where this one says a specific 10. This is 10%, so maybe not, maybe it cannot be stacked upon Protect. That, you know, I could understand maybe it was too much, or if it could be stacked on Protect, that'd be awesome. So basically the Gladiator, Paladin, Marauder, or Warrior just basically even be more harder to kill. So I'm thinking that because of this, bosses will be harder at later on times road, because of course barriers are not obtainable to level 30. Alright, so moving on, self-explanatory there. Okay, level 30, every 15 levels you get level 15, level 30 you get a class quest, and moving on with your class story and give you that specific spell that's unique to your class. The next one is called Bane.
Oh yes, for I am Bane, and I've invaded your game of Final Fantasy, for the Batman is not here.
What the fuck am I doing? Oh my god, yes! Behold my terrible Bane accent! Cheers, guys. I know, a cheap one, right? It's like, oh god, that was terrible, really? Alright. This one is a cool spell. Shatters the target's dots and status elements to surrounding mobs. So basically now, if you put all these dots, the bio, the miasma, the wither if it does have a duration spell, fog, yes, all of a sudden these have like these these damage over time spells and debilitating spells. You snap Bane real quick and it basically bursts into an AoE and hits everyone around the target. Now if it's a group pull and the Guardian has control of all these mobs, you're gonna get that mob that basically is the Guardian's focusing on, assist him, put all these dots, 1, 2, 3, and then hit Bane, and bam, you have the whole freaking group. That is crazy. Thinking about it, because so the duration is basically on how much the dot is already on there. So let's say this thing lasts for 30 seconds. And it's down to 18 seconds by the time you got all of your dots up. And you hit Bane, it will start at the 18 seconds and go down. Okay, so sorry guys, I was just reading up. I was kind of just pause there. I was like, what the hell? I was because it is a very long description. So there's an additional effect. So it actually has a 15% chance to reset the duration of each dot that you have on the whole group. So there you go. It's like at 18 and you're Bane, you luck out and you hit him. It's like you basically reset the duration. So you basically got 30-second dots on the whole group. So now you're all set up. I'm all set up. I don't have to worry about dotting in all the rest of these guys because I got this. I got them. Even though a group will take a little bit longer than 30 seconds to kill them all, you don't have to worry about that for a while. I don't know. There might be passive trait that increases that because passive traits are not in this data mine that they have. So shit, they might have a passive trait that says improve miasma or improve Bane. That will improve that from 15% to 30% or whatever. Or hell, even they'll have a book because scholars use tomes as weapons, where thaumaturgists use staff and conjurers use wands and shields. The Arcanist will use tomes, basically books that open up, and pretty badass. They open it up and you see the page just flapping on. But anyway, that's a cool thing. That was really cool. And unfortunately, seeing how as a class quest it wouldn't be like spreadable, a thaumaturge couldn't pick it up, so you couldn't cast thunder on everyone or what have you. It would have been really cool to have. They might change that, who knows. Like I said, guys, all these skills can be changed. Okay, we're going to Bio 2 at 34. Of course, this does a special potency of 10. It does a potency of 20. I'm thinking it's probably going to be like Thunder, to where you're going to have two bios, so Bio 1 and Bio 2 at the same time. So you have Bio 2, Miasma, Wither, Fog. Then you hit Bane, bam, you got 5 debilitating attacks plus 2 dots on him. Man, these guys are gonna be a fucking pain later on. They basically just take these and and just go with it and just improve it and kind of tweak it a little. Alright, so later on, level 38 auto immunity raise. Your own defense, physical defense duration. Okay, so this is basically kind of an oh shit spell. So basically, it will raise your physical defense by 10%. I'm pretty sure this will stack because duration of 12 seconds, and it can only be cast if you have less than 20% life. So it's basically, oh crap, I'm getting damaged. I have all these different protect spells, but here's an additional one. Taking my physical defense that's been increased by Protect and Barrier being another Final Fantasy significant spell, and then taking that total and then increasing it by 10 more %. So this will give you maybe a couple more seconds for the Conjurer or the Guardian, Paladin, White Mage, Scholar, if there is a one in the party, to come and heal you back up. So basically like an oh shit spell. 38. Okay, 42. Addle. This is another skill that Addle usually mutes people when they're old Final Fantasy, but this one it basically puts slow cast on it and reduces their casting by 10%. Duration of 12 seconds. Now it's like it's a pretty good debuff. It's 12 seconds you can't cast. This would suck for casting classes. So this is a PvP concept. So basically, if you have a Conjurer, White Mage, or whatever healer in the group, you want to cast this on them immediately. So basically, slowing their healing spells or what have you. Granted, they could counter with Anusia, but let's say for a pull, the same thing. You want to put Fog on the casters, and on top of that, let's say the Guardian still didn't pick them up. You can cast Addle on them, so at least slow their spells cast down, and then maybe you can maybe the Conjurer can have some relief from healing you and the Guardian who is not doing his job. Whatever. Okay, now 46. We're switching this around, turning it the opposite. Serpent's Tongue increases your fast cast by 10%. So basically, it increases your spell time or your haste by 10%, but it does the fog effect on yourself. So your spell range is reduced by 10 yards. So it's kind of a give or take. So you cast it, you gotta move in. So you plan this first so you can use the whole duration, which is going to be 15 seconds. You gotta run in, you gotta get a little closer, and so now you have a 10% faster cast speed at this point. And like I said, they might buff this up to compensate for more. They might put it on a lower cooldown, so it's actually worth doing it. So usually you probably use this like on the last 10%, 20% on a boss to burn him down, to get him down as fast as possible can before he goes into another cycle of his dodge the flames, kill the ads, or what have you. Pretty self-explanatory. Not too bad of a buff. Probably still use some tweaking. If Serpent Tongue can be shared with other casters, I could see this being used for like almost everyone. Thaumaturge, Conjurer, Black Mage, White Mage, Summoner, Scholar. Alright, going on. Now this is their level 50 skill. This is Aura Burst. Deals magic damage to surrounding enemies. Additional effect knocks them back by 10 yards. So this is basically a get off me move, like the Force Push or Aqua Flush or Aqua Luge from Conjurer. I can't believe I can't remember these skills. Anyway, but this is an AoE one, basically getting everyone, pushing you off everyone. It doesn't seem to root them, which kind of like is, I can see why they wouldn't, because with the aqua fluid or whatever for the Conjurer, it's only it's only a targetable thing, and it pushes it back one area or in front of you or whatever. This one will do a 360 degree pushback for everyone on them. So this is like a group of mobs on you, push them off. The Gladiator needs to get on the shit, or the Conjurer needs to get on shit, or the DPS needs to. The heavier armor DPS don't go in and pull them off, because of course the Arcanist wears cloth and cannot take a lot of damage. Now, looking at that whole thing, there's not really any healing spells thinking now that back up the Scholar. The thing is, Arcanist is kind of a weird class because it's the only class that can break off into two different jobs. So, that being said, I'm not sure if they had enough time, thinking about this without doing certain mix of skills to complement the classes, which one they would pick. Because if you're a Scholar, a lot of these skills really wouldn't help you. Dot or Hot, your group, or help them heal and whatever have you, unless every one of the Scholar skills are going to be Hots, heals, and buffs. But then at that time, most of these skills will be useless to you because, well, you can throw in some, so you can basically Hot healer, buffer plus debuffer, which I could see that'd be kind of cool. It's like kind of has that red mage feel to it, so I still will be leveling this up, giving it a try. Like I said, guys, this is all data mine pre phase 4 because they had months to work on this, and maybe they'll try something different. Now they did release some summoner skills at this point. Now the summoner skills seem to switch out some skills for the Arcanist because of how the fact it can split off to be either a summoner or a Scholar. So I could see why it would change some of the skills to suit the summoner more, and if you were to break off the Scholar, it changes some of those skills to suit the Scholar. Now this is only speculation, of course, so because at level 4 you get Proto Ramat, and he's the lightning primal or deity or god. It's the summons that you usually see, the bearded gray old Gandalf the Grey looking dude with the staff, and he's the element of lightning. Now he's at level 4. Now when you put your soul gem in, you're going to be that level. So if you're level 30 Scholar and you put that summoner gym and you're going to be a level 30 summoner. So I'm guessing it might switch out Carbuncle for Ramut. Or that'd be kind of sad because I still would like Carbuncle to summon, seeing how it's a full summon instead of these Aggie or Eggies, or whatever the hell they're basically the watered down version of the primals. Then at level 15 you get Titan, level 30 you get Gerluda, and then level 35, well, this is the summoners basically. So 35 you get Fester, deals damage based on the number of dots. So basically put all the dots you possibly can. Sorry guys, editing, I had to cut my camera cut out on me for some reason. Okay, going back to it, there's like only the dots that affect from the Arcanist. So like, let's say if you're primal or whatever, or Eggy were to put a dot on it, it wouldn't count that dot at that point. So you know, at level 40 you can summon Proto Ifrit because of fire. Harm's Way. This is a cool one. So Harm's Way, have your pet take the damage from one of your party members, excluding yourself. So you can see that like a mob is running towards the Conjurer or what have you. Cast this on the Conjurer and the Eggy or summons will take the damage for him for that period, or take that first initial hit. So, you know, buffering. So the Gladiator, Paladin, Marauder, Warrior can jump back in, get him, pull the aggro back, and then run back to where his position was. Nice thing, kind of a sacrifice, jump in the way. Kind of like cover for the Paladin. I will be going over the job classes later, guys, if you guys want me to. Please let me know in the comments below. This video is running a little longer than I want it to be. Okay, now, this is the one where I'm thinking it's going to be that summon skill, that thing where you see in all the Final Fantasies where you click on it and it does that really cool CG automatic attack. It's called Rekindle. Executes a fulfillment skill on your current summon's pet. Can only be used when a summon's pet is out. So I'm thinking this is probably gonna have a long cooldown, but it'll really do like a really cool effect. So let's say Ramut will do an AoE thunder spell. Titan will do a protection spell, or kind of like how Golem did in Final Fantasy VI, where it absorbed a bunch of hits for you. Seeing how Titan is more of a tanky kind of personality to him. Gerluda, maybe she'll put a buff like haste or something, like Winds of Gerluda or something like that. I'm just making these up, guys. And put a haste in the party. Or Ifrit, he'll do a super colossal single target damage, something like that. I'm pretty sure it'll be different for each AGs or whatever summon that you pull out. With that said, there's no skills for the Scholar that haven't data mined yet, because I'm pretty sure they didn't even announce this until like late after Phase 2 and Phase 3 was being announced. But they're saying now the Fairy, which is another summon that has been in past Final Fantasies, will be your permanent pet at that point, and that'll be your, the signature pet. But its mood will change depending on what kind of spells you use. So maybe it's pissed, it'll use DPS spells. Happy skills, if it's the fairy's happy, it'll use healing spells. If it's sad, maybe we'll put debuffs. If it's excited or something, it'll put buffs up. Seeing how the class is slated for being a healing buffing class, I guess, it's kind of like you still can speculate how crazy you can, use all these different skills with her. And we're still wondering, and now I'm only using this as a something I can imagine what the Arcanist will be about. So we can, I can put bio with my Thaumaturge, my, sustain with, like a lot of these skills you couldn't use, like sustain, you couldn't use with it because of course you can't summon. And I'm really sure they won't let Conjurers and Thaumaturges summon, seeing how that's pretty much the Arcanist's signature thing about it. I can see a lot of these other ones doing like bio, baby miasma, autoimmunity, addle, serpent tongue. Those are really cool spells to put on. But I can see where the Arcanist will be a really cool middle line class for either Conjurer or Thaumaturge, and using these spells to complement them. But being a good class in itself too, to where it's like, why do you always have to have tanks, healers, and DPS? Why can't you have a debuffer or disabler? Why can't you have a buffer or something like that? Kind of like how they had in Rift, where they had a tank role, a healing role, a DPS role, and a support role. I thought that was fantastic. But, to each his own. But guys, I thank you for joining me with this. I probably will extend later on with this more later. This one's running a little longer. You guys are probably bored. But I appreciate your time with me. If you guys enjoyed your time with me, hearing my ideas with the Arcanist, because I will be playing one in Phase 4. Guys, if you're wondering what server, I'll probably be Excalibur. I will be putting out an announcement video, what's going on, and what I'll be doing for Phase 4 later on. Guys, I thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. Leave your comments below, like, subscribe, and as always, cheers, and game on. Whew. Stand aside and watch as I conjure the elements from above to rain most destructive terror on you. But don't get near me because I crumple like paper. Of course, the stats that the Thaumaturge will most be investing in is to intelligence and attack power, not so much piety, because if the good Thaumaturge knows how to play the class, they would never, ever run out of magic. Ooh. Bless me, guys. Sorry about that. I had a little sneeze there. Probably talking about all that power. Alright, let's go out for the initial. Of course, this one I leveled this one up to 30. First, of course, initial class, like the Disciplines of War, you get your first initial ability that does a